مسيكم بالخير. إذا بتريدوا اسمعوا شو وزيرتنا السابقة هيلاري كلينتون شو قالت عن بوتين، كل اللبنانيين والسوريين والعراقيين اسمعوا هالشي إذا بتريدوا. تفضلي مدام سكرتاري.
We have to cooperate. We should cooperate on a range of issues, but we also cannot permit the kind of aggressive military buildup, the kind of efforts to dominate maritime navigation, the intimidation of nations in the larger Asia-Pacific region. And we also have seen a very serious and important defense move by the United States, the UK, and Australia to buttress Australia as a strong partner in a superior military presence. So the Biden administration, at least from the public efforts that have been going on, is trying to strike that balance that we heard President Biden express in his recent virtual summit with President Xi Jinping. I think that a lot of what will happen in the region depends upon how other nations perceive the competition. And that is not only within Asia, but also further afield in Europe, in Africa, even Latin America, because other nations will also have to make the determination as to how they engage in cooperation with China, cooperation with the United States and our allies, and how they maximize their own interests in the midst of this very clear and growing competition between the United States and China. There should be an effort to reconsider all of the tariffs. Some of them have hurt us and maybe hurt us for the foreseeable future, particularly in agricultural goods. Some of them, are more technical, and whether or not you would take it all off or you would modify them. But I know that that's going on. I know that there is an ongoing process as we speak to try to figure out what would be the best approach with respect to the tariffs. And I would predict that there will be some changes, but they will not all disappear because some of them in this new reality we're living in may well be continued. I have heard for years that, Russia would become more willing to move toward the West, more willing to engage in a positive way with Europe, the UK, the US, because of problems on its border, because of the rise of China. And, we haven't seen that. Instead, what we've seen is a concerted effort by Putin maybe to hug China more with the hope that it would stave off some of the potential problems that could come, especially in their far east. But Russia raises a different set of questions that I think we have got to start paying greater attention with. Part of the way that Putin has exercised power is through networks of non-state actors. He has a very large mercenary force that has been operating everywhere from Syria to the Central African Republic. He has a very large stable of hackers and those who deal in disinformation and cyber warfare, both in and outside of the government. He's engaged in a lot of asymmetric power moves. And I think one of the areas that nation states have got to pay greater attention to is the rise of these asymmetric power centers. Some of them operate either with the approval or even in full cooperation with state actors, like you see with the Kremlin. Some of them are independent, but we're going to be facing increasing challenges. The way that technology has developed, the incredible use of disinformation in the political sphere and the economic sphere is only going to get worse. The rise of artificial intelligence is going to threaten nation states, going to threaten multinational corporations. And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes, we can't just think about nation states. And Putin is a great example of that because with his oligarchic coterie, he has utilized many non-state actors to pursue personal as well as nationalistic goals. And I think that's going to become a greater and greater threat. And it appears as though China is going to prevent outside technology payment systems like the cryptocurrency development from playing a big role inside China, because I think they've recognized, given their nationalism, perhaps earlier than other nations in the US, Europe, elsewhere, that this could be a direct threat to sovereignty. So while we're talking about making decisions and trying to be strategic and building alliances, there's a whole new layer of activity that could be extremely destabilizing, and in the wrong hands or in alliances with the wrong people could be direct threats to many of our nation states and certainly to the global currency markets.
كلكن سمعتوا شو قالت وزير خارجيتنا السابقة هيلاري كلينتون عن بوتين، فبتاخدوا علم وخبر. ورح حط لكم على هالفيديو التويتر تبع الدكتور فارس سعيد. انتبهوا يا لبنانيين، واضحة مثل الشمس، حزب الله بده يقوم بعمل إجرامي مثل ما عمل بالسابق لترعيب الناس وتخويف الناس. اوعى تغلطوا، مبين من تصاريحهم. أهلا وسهلا فيكم.